My name is Ophelia Simpson, and I'm 28. I design buildings for a living, commercial projects across Seattle, the kind where precision isn't optional and mistakes don't just look bad, they fail. I've always liked clean lines, solid plans, and dependable structures. That preference bled into my life too. Routine felt safe, progress felt earned. My days used to be simple: wake at 6 o'clock, gym for an hour, work until 5 or 6, depending on deadlines. Evenings were either dinner with my buddy Eric or home, building custom PC setups, my side hobby that somehow turned into a steady stream of clients. Weekends were hiking, gaming, catching up on sleep. Quiet, predictable, mine. I also had Max, my golden retriever. 3 years together, adopted from a shelter. He never asked me to be more than I was. He just showed up and expected me to do the same. 4 years ago, I met Nate at a mutual friend's birthday party. He worked in marketing for a boutique firm downtown, confident, polished, magnetic. The kind of man who filled rooms without trying. Perfect smile, easy laugh, a presence that made people lean in. I remember thinking he was out of my league. Then he laughed at one of my engineering jokes that usually landed with a thud. We talked all night. I went home thinking, maybe this is what it feels like when someone actually sees you. The first year felt effortless. Dinners after work, weekends exploring the city, spontaneous trips to Portland or Vancouver. Nate asked about my projects, listened when I explained why a beam mattered or how load distribution worked. He made my quiet world feel interesting. I didn't notice when the questions stopped. It happened gradually, so slowly it blended into the background. Nate started calling my routine predictable, like it was a flaw I should apologize for. He'd watch me meal prep and joke, "You know you don't have to live like a spreadsheet, right?" When I suggested a casual Thai place, he'd counter with something trendier, pricier, worth dressing for. By year 3, there was a tension under everything, like we were always one wrong sentence away from a fight. Nate got irritated when I worked late, rolled his eyes when Eric and I planned football nights, compared me to his friends' boyfriends, men who were going places. How does Trevor take his girlfriend to Bali like it's nothing? Did you see what Nathan bought his girl? Guys at my office don't settle. The worst part? I started believing maybe I was the problem. So I tried. I really did. I bought the brands Nate liked, even when one shirt cost what I used to spend on groceries for a week. I said yes to the restaurants I didn't love. I cut back time with Eric because Nate said I was choosing friends over my relationship. I stepped into Nate's world, louder, shinier, curated, and tried to keep up. But the standards kept moving. 3 weeks ago, the breaking point arrived, disguised as an ordinary Tuesday. I was deep into a major proposal, a mixed-use development that could change how my firm saw me. Deadline Friday. The kind of project that didn't just fill hours, it shaped careers. Around 8 p.m., my phone rang. Nate. Hey, I answered, still typing with one hand. What's up? Are you still at the office? His voice was already sharp. Yeah, the proposal's due Friday and I need... We had plans tonight. I stopped typing and opened my calendar. Nothing. What plans? I asked carefully. I mentioned it 3 days ago, he snapped. Dinner with the Harrisons. They're in town for one night. The Harrisons, his college friends who talked about funding rounds and vacation homes like it was weather. I'd met them once and smiled for 2 hours straight. Nate, I said evenly, I don't remember you telling me, and even if you did, I explained last week this project would need extra hours. This matters for my career. Everything always matters for your career, he shot back. But when it comes to me, suddenly you're too busy. That's not fair. I've canceled work for you plenty of times. Oh, please, he laughed, short, sharp. You act like you're so dedicated, but you're still just a regular engineer, not even senior level. The words landed harder than I expected, casual, dismissive. Maybe if you actually pushed yourself, he continued, instead of being comfortable with mediocrity, you'd be further along. I swallowed. I am pushing myself. That's what this proposal is. Can you reschedule? I asked. They'd understand. No, they leave tomorrow. But of course your work is more important than my relationships. That's not what I'm saying. You know what? Forget it, Nate snapped. I'll go alone, like I always do, because apparently having a girlfriend means nothing when she's married to her spreadsheets. He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard. That familiar knot tightened in my stomach, the one that had lived there for months. I went back to work anyway. 2 days later, Thursday evening, the proposal was nearly finished. I decided to leave at a reasonable hour. surprise Nate, smooth things over, prove, again, that I could make this work. I stopped by his favorite Italian place and grabbed his usual carbonara, drove to his apartment in Capitol Hill, rooftop deck, doorman, immaculate lobby. Everything about Nate's life looked perfect from the outside. When he opened the door, his hair was wet and he was wearing a robe. "What are you doing here?" No smile, no warmth. "I thought I'd surprise you." I held up the bag. "Your favorite." He glanced at it like it was an inconvenience. "I already ate." "Oh," I forced a laugh. "I can put it in your fridge for tomorrow." "Why are you really here?" he asked. The question tightened my chest. "Because I wanted to see you." He hesitated, then stepped aside. His apartment was spotless. White furniture, abstract art, everything Instagram ready. And somehow, cold. I set the food down. "Look, I know Tuesday was frustrating, but this project is huge." "You used to understand things like this," Nate cut in, "before I realized you're never going to change." "Change what?" "Your life," he said flatly. "When was the last time you took a real risk? You're content with your little routine, your little life." "My little ambitions," I repeated, feeling something crack. His phone buzzed on the counter. Nate glanced at the screen, and for half a second I saw it. A small private smile, gone as soon as he remembered I was there. "I need to take this," he said. "Of course you do," I murmured. He turned away. "Hey, yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, give me 20 minutes. See you then." When he hung up, he faced me like nothing had happened. "I have plans tonight." "With who?" I asked quietly. "Does it matter?" It did, because suddenly I wasn't holding pasta. I was holding 4 years of shrinking myself to fit someone else's expectations, while they smiled at another name lighting up their phone. And for the first time, I didn't feel desperate to fix it. I felt tired. The kind of tired that tells you the foundation is cracking, slowly, quietly, but inevitably. And before Nate ever said the word space, I already knew something inside me had shifted. The word space sounded harmless when Nate finally said it. Almost reasonable. "I just need time to think," he told me 2 nights later, his voice softer than it had been all week. "Can you not call me for a bit?" A bit. Vague enough to mean anything. Long enough to make me uneasy. "How long is a bit?" I asked. "I don't know. A couple weeks? I just need to clear my head." I should have argued. I should have asked what exactly he needed space from. I should have pointed out that asking for silence right before his sister's wedding, one we were supposed to attend together, felt suspiciously convenient. But I was exhausted. "Okay," I said, "I'll give you space." "Thank you," Nate replied, relief obvious in his voice. "I really appreciate you understanding." He hung up before I could say anything else. That night, I sat on my couch staring at my phone, waiting for the familiar panic to rise. The spiral, the self-blame, the urge to text, "Are you sure?" or "I miss you already." None of it came. Max rested his head on my knee, tail thumping lazily. I scratched behind his ears and felt something unfamiliar settle into my chest. Quiet. The first week without Nate was peaceful. Unsettling at first, like the silence after a loud argument when your ears are still ringing, but then oddly comforting. No bracing myself before checking my phone. No rehearsing explanations for working late. No anxiety over whether my life looked impressive enough through someone else's lens. Work filled the space instead. The proposal was approved. Not just approved, praised. I got pulled into meetings I'd never been invited to before. Senior engineers asked my opinion. My boss casually mentioned my name alongside the word promotion, like it wasn't a big deal, like it hadn't been the thing Nate kept implying I wasn't capable of. I didn't call Nate. I told myself I was respecting his boundary. And I was. But if I'm being honest, a part of me wanted to see what would happen if I stopped chasing. Midway through the week, Nate texted, "Nate, heard your proposal got approved. Congrats." I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. "Me, thanks." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Nothing came. Saturday morning, I went hiking with Eric and a couple friends from his gym. Phone stayed in the car. We talked about everything except Nate. I laughed more than I had in months. When I got back to my car around 4, my phone buzzed nonstop. 3 missed calls, 2 texts. "Nate, are you ignoring me now?" "Nate, I thought we were still talking." I waited until I got home to call back. "Hey," he answered immediately, like he'd been staring at his phone. "Where were you?" "Hiking," I said. "Phone was in the car." "Oh." A pause. "You didn't tell me you were going." "You asked for space," I reminded him gently. I figured that meant not checking in. "That's not what I meant," Nate said quickly. "I just meant space to think, not emotional distance." I exhaled slowly. I'm not sure how to give you one without the other. Silence. Then he shifted topics. The Harrisons asked about you. What did you tell them? That you had to work. They understood. Did they? Or did they smile politely and silently agree with everything Nate had said about me? Oh, and Lena was there, he added casually. My stomach tightened. Lena? My ex, he clarified, like it was obvious. She's still friends with the group. Of course she was. She said her company would never expect someone to work that much without serious compensation, Nate continued. Made me think. Think what? That maybe your firm takes advantage of you. There it was again. The same critique, repackaged as concern. I just got a major project approved, I said. That's how advancement works in engineering. Maybe, he replied, but other people don't wait around hoping. The knot returned, familiar, tight. I'm not doing this right now, I said. Doing what? Having the same argument in a new outfit. You wanted space, so take it, but I'm not spending that time defending who I am. There was a pause. Then, cooler this time. Wow. Okay. If that's how you feel. If you want honesty, I said quietly, that is how I feel. He didn't respond. Week 2 was quieter. Nate didn't call. I didn't call. But his presence found other ways to creep in. Instagram. Photos from rooftop bars. Candlelit tables. Smiling faces. Always work people. And always, just off to the side, never tagged but unmistakable, Lena. Eric noticed before I said anything. You seeing these posts? He asked one night, scrolling on his phone. Yeah. You okay with that? What am I supposed to be okay or not okay with? I asked. He asked for space. He's using it. Eric frowned. Space usually doesn't mean flirting with your ex in public. I don't know what it means anymore, I admitted. Work, meanwhile, kept improving. My boss scheduled a meeting 3 weeks out to discuss my future. I built a ridiculous gaming PC for a client and made $2,000 on the side. I started going to the gym in the evenings instead of rushing in the mornings. Life without managing Nate's disappointment felt lighter. Then, week 3, Nate called. Tuesday morning. I was reviewing blueprints when his name lit up my screen. For the first time in 4 years, I hesitated before answering. Hey, I said. You sound busy, he noted immediately. I am. What's up? I've been thinking, he said. A lot. And I think we need to talk in person. When? Tonight? I have plans. With who? Eric. A pause. Tomorrow? Working late. We're presenting the proposal to the client this week. You're always working late, he snapped. You're the one who said I should advocate for myself, I replied. This is how I'm doing that. Another pause. You sound different, Nate said finally. Different how? Cold, like you don't care. I almost laughed. I care. I'm just not panicking. That's not fair. You asked for space. I gave it. I didn't realize it came with required check-ins. Why are you being like this? Like what? Dismissive. I'm being honest. Silence stretched between us. I'll call you after the presentation, I said. This week matters. Don't bother, Nate snapped suddenly. What? You heard me. Clearly you have your priorities. Yes, I said calmly. This week, my priority is not blowing the biggest presentation of my career. You know what? His voice sharpened. You're lucky I even pick up your calls at this point. The words landed like ice water. Lucky. Something inside me went very still. And for the first time, I didn't feel hurt. I felt clear. For a few seconds after Nate said it, the world went quiet. You're lucky I even pick up your calls. No shouting, no slammed doors. Just that sentence. Casual, sharp, and final. I stared at the blueprint on my screen, lines blurring as something inside me settled into place. Not anger, not sadness. Clarity. Lucky? I repeated softly. Yes, Nate said, exhaling like he was exhausted. From where I'm standing, you've been a pretty disappointing girlfriend lately. Most people wouldn't even bother. There it was, the unfiltered version. The one I'd been bending myself around for a year. Something in my chest loosened. You're right, I said. There was a pause on the line. What? You're absolutely right, I continued, voice steady. You shouldn't have to pick up calls from someone who disappoints you. That must be exhausting. That's not what I meant, he said quickly. You're twisting my words. No, I replied. I think you finally said them clearly. What are you saying, Ophelia? I'm saying I'm done. Silence. Then, quieter. You're breaking up with me over the phone? You've been breaking up with me in pieces for the past year, I said. I'm just making it official. That's ridiculous. This is because of one comment? This is because of 1,000 comments, I said. This was just the last one. You're overreacting, Nate snapped. I was upset. You're always upset, I said. And somehow it's always my fault. You can't just walk away from 4 years. I didn't, I said. I shrank myself for 4 years. That's not the same thing. He exhaled sharply. So that's it? You're just done? Yes. Just like that. The simplicity shocked him more than yelling ever could. I called to work things out, he said, and you're ending it. You called to tell me I should feel grateful you still talk to me, I replied. That's not working things out. That's control. Silence again. I have to go, I added. My meeting's starting. Wait. I hung up. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. A knock sounded on my cubicle wall. My coworker Amy leaned in, concern written all over her face. You okay? She asked. You look pale. Yeah, I said, surprised to realize it was true. I just ended my relationship. Oh, she hesitated. Do you need a minute? No, I said. I need to nail this meeting. And I did. The presentation flowed like it had been waiting for me to stop holding my breath. I spoke clearly, confidently. When questions came, I answered without second-guessing myself. Afterward, my boss pulled me aside. Whatever's different about you, he said, keep it up. You're on fire. If only he knew. The rest of the week passed without a word from Nate. No angry texts, no apologies, just silence. Friday afternoon, the client signed off on the project. My boss called me into his office. We'd like to offer you the senior engineer position, he said, smiling. 20% raise. You've earned this. I thanked him, my throat tight. That night, I celebrated with Eric and a few coworkers. When I told them about the breakup, no one looked surprised. About time, Eric muttered into his beer. Amy nodded. She used to correct you at parties, she added. Like, you'd be telling a story and he'd interrupt over tiny details. It was uncomfortable. Huh, I said quietly. The weekend came and went peacefully. I took Max to the beach, cleaned my apartment, slept deeply for the first time in months. Monday morning, I walked into work lighter than I'd felt in a long time. New business cards were being printed. A corner office, small but mine, waited upstairs. Around 10, Amy stopped by. Hey, she said. There's someone in the lobby asking for you. Client. No, she replied carefully. Says it's personal. My stomach dropped. Did they give a name? Nate, she said, looks emotional. I closed my eyes for a brief second. Okay, I said. I'll be right down. And as I stood, I realized something else had changed. I wasn't afraid anymore. The elevator ride down felt longer than it should have. Each floor chimed softly, like it was giving me time to reconsider, to brace myself, to remember the version of me that would have rehearsed apologies, explanations, anything to keep the peace. That version didn't exist anymore. When the doors opened, I saw Nate immediately. He was sitting on one of the modern chairs in the lobby, hunched forward, elbows on his knees, jeans, a sweatshirt. None of the polished, curated look he usually wore. His eyes were red, swollen, like he hadn't slept. When he saw me, he stood too fast. Ophelia, he said, voice cracking. Can we talk? I'm at work, I replied evenly. I know, I'm sorry, he swallowed. You wouldn't answer my calls. People who break up don't usually talk, I said. That's kind of the point. He flinched. We didn't really break up. You were just angry. I wasn't angry, I said. I was done. He shook his head like I was being unreasonable. You don't mean that. I do. The receptionist pretended very hard not to listen. I gestured toward the doors, outside. Seattle greeted us with overcast skies and a fine mist, the kind of gray that felt appropriate. I came to apologize, Nate said quickly, as if afraid I'd walk away. The things I said on the phone, I didn't mean them. I was stressed. You've been stressed for a year, I replied. I know, he said, eyes shining, and I messed up. My friends helped me see it. Your friends? I asked. The same ones who watched you treat me like I was never enough? That's not fair. It's accurate. He wiped at his eyes. I just wanted you to reach your potential. My potential according to who? I asked calmly. You? He hesitated. I just got promoted, I continued. Senior engineer, 20% raise. His face fell. You did? Yes. That's amazing, he said, forcing a smile. I'm really happy for you. Are you? I asked. Because the only time you talked about this project was to criticize me for working on it. He opened his mouth, then closed it. At that moment, Amy stepped out of the building, phone in hand. I caught her eye. Amy, I called. Can you come here a second? She approached cautiously. Hey. Nate, this is my coworker Amy, I said. Then I turned to her. Amy, can you tell me, who is this? Amy hesitated for half a heartbeat. Then she understood. I'm not sure, she said slowly. I don't know him. I looked at Nate. Exactly. Color drained from his face. What are you doing? He whispered. Answering honestly, I said. I don't know who you are anymore. The man I dated wouldn't have treated me the way you did. That's cruel, he said, voice shaking. You know what's cruel? I replied. Spending 4 years with someone who made me feel like I was constantly auditioning for their approval. Amy excused herself quietly, giving me a small nod as she left. Nate was crying now openly. I came here to fix this, he said. To tell you I love you. These weeks without you have been terrible. I'm sorry you're hurting, I said, and I meant it. But there is no us to fix. That's not true, he insisted. We had good times. When? I asked gently. When was the last time you looked at me like you chose me instead of settling? He didn't answer. I can't be the person you want me to be, I said, and I'm done trying. He stepped closer. Please, give me another chance. No. Just like that? Just like that. I turned back toward the doors. You'll regret this, he called after me. You'll realize what you gave up. I paused, then looked back. The only thing I regret, I said, is not doing this sooner. I went inside and didn't look back. That afternoon, Nate tried calling twice. I didn't answer. By the time I finished my last meeting, there was a long email waiting in my inbox. Subject line, please just read this. I didn't. Not because I was trying to be cruel, but because I finally understood something I'd been too close to see before. Closure for Nate wasn't about peace, it was about access. That night, I blocked his number. The next morning, I blocked him on Instagram, LinkedIn, everything. When the doorman at my building texted to ask if I wanted to approve a visitor, Nate, again, I told him no, and asked that he not be let up in the future. The silence afterward was clean, sharp, permanent. Through mutual friends, I heard the story Nate started telling. That I blindsided him, that I changed, that I became cold after my promotion, that he never saw it coming, which was impressive considering he'd spent the last year telling me, explicitly, everything that was wrong with me. Apparently, the sympathy didn't land the way he expected. People remembered things. How he used to correct me mid-story at parties. How he rolled his eyes when I talked about my work. How he compared me to other women, other careers, other lives, always louder, richer, shinier. Even Lena, the ex who'd hovered conveniently in the background, stopped responding to his messages once she realized he was actually available. Turns out the chase had been more appealing than the reality. Work, meanwhile, kept moving forward. My promotion became official. New title, new responsibilities. A small corner office with a window that let in gray Seattle light I'd grown to love. I bought Max a ridiculous new bed he ignored in favor of my couch. I hosted game nights again. Took weekends without checking my phone. 1 week later, Nate sent an email from a new address. It was long, apologetic, full of insight he hadn't had when it mattered. He wrote about unrealistic expectations, about insecurity, about wanting closure. I didn't respond. Not because I hated him, but because I didn't owe him another explanation of why I deserved to be treated well. Sometimes the ending is the closure. I learned that love shouldn't feel like a performance review, that ambition doesn't have to be loud to be real, and that anyone who makes you feel lucky just to be tolerated has already disqualified themselves from your life. I didn't lose someone who loved me. I let go of someone who needed me small, and I finally had room to stand at full height.